My name is Andrea Pennington. I'm an integrative physician, acupuncturist, best-selling author, and international speaker. My career in broadcast and digital media spans over 20 years. As past medical director for Discovery Health Channel, I've had multiple appearances on Oprah, Dr. Oz, and CNN, and my TED Talks have reached 2.5 million people. For the last several years, I've been helping other doctors, dentists, healers, and coaches from around the world to share their messages with global audiences through personal branding, publishing, online courses, and media training. And what makes this combination unique is that I am bringing my 20 years of expertise as a professional speaker and coaching other people on their TED-style talks. So I know what it takes to craft a keynote, a TED Talk, and even workshop presentations so that you communicate your message with confidence and clarity. Hello, hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to day 2 of our live deep dive training. I am your host, Dr. Andrea Pennington. Very glad to be with you again. I see that we've had some challenges with the restream, however. So if you thought that today was about anxiety, that's not what today's broadcast is all about. Today we are in day 2 of our 6 days of deep dive live business training. Yesterday, we covered deep dive number 1, which was all about your personal brand identity. And today, it's all about nailing your niche. So you are in the right place if you are interested in boosting your capacity to be able to speak to your niche. And I'm really, really happy to be here again. Again, apologies for software glitches. It's just not working with Restream. I'm going to just have to say that out loud. So welcome. It's very good to have you back again. I'm going to first ask if there are any questions from yesterday's session. I'll do a very short review. If you missed yesterday, we were talking about how you can define your brand identity. And that is crucial. That is so important for people who really want to have a big impact in their business. If you want to have a not so great impact, then you can keep doing what you're doing. But ultimately, what we all want to be able to do is to have that impact, make a difference in people's lives, right? That's what we want. We want to start that business that's actually going to, be successful, right? So that's what we are up to today. Hopefully you all are clear on that. Good afternoon, Carolina. Lovely to have you here. And Sibusiso, Jack, welcome. Very glad to have you tuned in. So are there any questions about what we covered yesterday? And that was how to define your brand identity. Anyone have questions on that? Humble Victoria, welcome to the party. Glad to have you here. So, all right. Well, as usual, I have got some slides prepared. And yeah, I'm going to get this party started. Don't worry, if you haven't seen the first one, I'm going to give you a very brief little recap so that you can get a sense for what this whole thing is all about. And specifically, the reason why I'm doing this training is I did this last year. I did this right in the beginning of the pandemic when so many people were freaking out. They said they did not know how to market themselves online. They, like so many people, they were clueless. They had been used to traditional marketing and branding, being in a brick and mortar location. But as soon as you want to reach a global audience, this is when we start to leverage the media. And by media, I mean everything from broadcast media, like television and radio, traditional, old school, to online media, and print. Print is still alive today. So we're kind of going back to old school tactics, but we're just using new mediums to get there. Welcome back, Chef. I'm glad you're here with me again. You have to let me know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Asil, so good to have you with us. She's one of our global luminary authors. And Beatrice, welcome to the party. All right, so I'm going to jump right in here because we have a lot to cover and I want to take your questions about nailing your niche. So this is deep dive number 2, and we are talking about how to define your ideal customer. And that means no more of saying, I can help all women. I can help all people with back pain. I can help all people with depression. And I'm going to help you understand why we don't do that. So as a little bit of a recap, yesterday we covered these 5 stages of business growth that you will go through from the beginning when you just have this rumbling, this calling, this vision that you're starting to see of your life and your business in a different way, all the way to the stage 5 where you are glowing like a superstar and people can tune into you from around the world and they just hear your voice or see your face or see your name and they know who you are and what you stand for. That is stage 5. But you can't go from 0 to there unless there was some magic happening. And that does happen. I will admit, you could get on some major TV show and become an overnight star. But for most of us who are healers or coaches or light workers, it's going to take this natural progression. And I've seen myself and my clients go through these 5 stages, including the time that I was working in global broadcast media at Discovery Channel and doing documentaries, and then later for Lux TV. These 5 stages all have essential elements that you will experience as you're going through them. For example, these 4 stages that we are going to be going through during this series, today we are on the position stage. We're going to just narrow in on your niche. But I publish these checklists for you, which you can get if you've signed up for this. There's links to download all of the slides so that you do things in the right order at the right time. I've had so many people come to me who've been all over the place, scattered in their marketing and branding efforts, and they never get traction because they're scattered. They're doing things out of order, all right? So I want to simplify things for you. That is my goal and my purpose. So today we are focused on this, well, it's actually stage 2. It is the position stage. The position stage is all about your brand platform. Now, a platform is generally something you stand on, right? Stand on to deliver your message. It could also be a platform that you take off into outer space if you want to go global. So yesterday, we talked specifically about building your brand platform. That starts off with your brand identity, who you are, what you stand for, what is your philosophy, what are your specialties, your strengths, what makes you unique and different from everyone else who's doing something similar. Part of building your brand platform includes a style guide so that wherever we look on social media or on your website, we get the same vibe, the same feel. So even if you think you're going to hire a web designer, it's ideal that you give them a style guide, a brand encyclopedia. These are the words or the phrases that you use that will create resonance in your ideal customer's heart and mind. The niche and the avatar profile is what we're going through in this session today. The other part of your expert platform is your core content. You should be creating content. It doesn't always have to be perfect and polished. It could be a vlog on your smartphone. It could be, short micro tweets. That's totally fine, but you need core content because even if I were to feature you on one of my shows and people loved what you said, they're gonna go online looking for more or trying to figure out who you are. So you've got to have some core content. And that means a website, ideally a logo and a photo. All right? Awesome. So here we go. So I asked yesterday, what is a brand? A brand, and I'm advocating that you become or look at yourself as a brand. A brand is simply the image that people have of you. It's who and what people think that you are. It may not be what you are. It's what they think you are and what you represent to them in their mind. A brand represents your promise. It's what we can expect. It's the experience we'll have with you. It's the emotions that we'll have if we work with you. So that's a little bit of review. If you don't know how to describe who you are, what you do, what makes you unique, then definitely check out Deep Dive #1 so you can go through the worksheet. We had a lot of great clarity come through yesterday. People were very close to being able to nail it, but I think we got things refined even more. All right? Excellent. So today it's all about targeting your tribe. That is to define your niche, your target audience. And what we want you ultimately to be able to do is create what we call an avatar profile. It's basically just a write-up of the full demographics, a storyline even, of your ideal customer. Who are they? What are they into? What are they, what are their likes and dislikes? Now, the person who is most famous for sharing this idea of a tribe is the infamous Seth Godin. He describes a tribe as a group of people connected to one another, connected to a leader, and connected to an idea. You see all of that connection? And it's a central theme. All right? Make sense? So what about your tribe? What about your niche? Now, I know some of you have been calling it niche, but I'm in France, so we're going to say it correctly. It's niche. A niche is basically, if we look at it in nature, it's an ecosystem. It's the environment. And if we look at an ecosystem, everything that that plant or animal or organism needs is included in their niche. All right? Now, if we look at this in terms of marketing, a niche is a small but profitable segment of the market. Now, this is important because obviously you want to be profitable. It's fine if you have a charity, but that charity is going to need to have a market share. It's going to need to have some traction, right? And so we want to be focused in our attention as we are creating content, as we might decide to create ads and other things like that. Does this make sense so far? So if I were to ask you, who is your ideal client? Would you be able to tell me? Type in the chat and let me know. I'm curious to hear. Who would you say is your ideal client? Come on now. Don't be shy. I'm curious. And I see this nice comment from Shireen in the UK. Can't thank you enough for your patience with your progress. You're trusting and smiling more about your tortoise pace because of my business and spiritual wisdom. So grateful that this is helpful to you, Shireen. You know what? We all get there when we get there. I'm very happy that you keep tuning in and turning on to really help people. All right, so I'm committed to helping you, even if the progress is slow. It's all good. So Shaf, you said women. I'm going to have to give you a no. I'm doing sound effects today. No, that is not specific enough. Absolutely not. What kind of women? That's not helpful. Because if I need to refer someone to you, I need to know in my head and my heart exactly the kind of woman that you can get results with. Beatrice, professionals. No. Too general. Humble Victoria, single moms. No. Too general. The reason I'm going to stress this with you is because there are a lot of single moms, but some of them don't have money to work with you. Some of them are, well, I don't even know the problem that you solve, but some of them may not actually be motivated to change. So we have got to be super specific about the type of people we serve so that you can grow a business based on word of mouth or advertising. So even before you're ready to spend money on ads, if you were to go to Facebook ads or Google ads and just click women, and it's going to say, okay, well, we can deliver this advertising to 350 million women. Well, that's going to cost you a lot of money. Wouldn't you want to narrow it down? What are the type of women or the type of professionals? All right, Shireen, your ideal client is a 45 plus year old woman working in a demanding public sector with kids about to leave home. So the kids are about to leave home. Okay, so she's a 45-year-old working mom who is about to have an empty nest. All right, so that now we're getting clear. And if she's working in the public sector, that gives me a hint about her income. And we have to think about this simply because we have to know, can your ideal customer afford whatever it is you're offering? If you were to hire someone to make ads for you, they have to know this material. So you have to be able to produce it. Marsha, you say males and females over the age of 30. No, more specific. You guys could also tell me what it is you fix, because of course we need to know what the problem is. All right, so Karina, you say the husband is an accountant. She is funny, has fibromyalgia, and is overweight. Okay. A funny woman with fibromyalgia who's overweight, and her husband is an accountant. Okay. I'm tuning into that. I mean, obviously those are very specific conditions. So if you can describe the condition that they have, I guess it doesn't matter in your case, Karina, what age she is, whether she's 25 or 45. There is more, she says. Okay, keep typing. There's way more. Now, okay, I don't mean to beat you all over the head. Oh, there was more in another message earlier. Oh, sorry. Oh, I see. My bad, my bad. A 37-year-old woman, a politician, very kind, but not passive aggressive. She's a real estate owner, is into the Second Amendment. Oh dear. And freedom. She's got 4 children and a Turkish husband who's an accountant. All right, now we're super specific. Okay. That might be narrowing it a little too much with the Turkish husband, but now we can at least get a very clear picture. So what that does for me is if I happen to be, well, I guess I'd need to be in America, interacting with a politician or I knew someone who was working with them, I'd say, oh, I know exactly who to send you to. There's no doubt in my mind now. But if you just said, I can help all women with fibromyalgia or, then no, that would not work. Okay, thank you for hooking me up with that. Natasha, you say, professional, middle-aged women wanting to overcome imposter syndrome and build confidence. Okay, I'll buy that. Professional, middle-aged women who want to overcome imposter syndrome and build confidence. Yeah, we're getting closer. That is good. You get applause. I'm going to be very cheesy with the sound effects. All right, so let's move on. So when we're looking at your ideal customer, what I want you to think about is demographics. That is their age, their gender, their income. Again, because we really want you to be so specific that when you open your mouth and start speaking, they'll know you are for me. Because if I say I can treat all women, that's not going to speak to all women. And there's this thing that we say in marketing. If you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. Okay? So we want to be very specific. We also want to know about their psychographics. The psychographics is their personality type. What are they into? What are their preferences? Dr. Karina, she mentioned something about, a go-getter, into freedom, fan of the Second Amendment, but not passive aggressive. Like that gives me a flavor so that I know who to refer to you, right? And that means when you start to write content or you appear on a TV show or on a podcast, you can use language that they're going to pick up on instantly. If you were just too general, it wouldn't appeal to that type of a person. So you really want to know about these things. The next step is their behavior. What are the things that they like and dislike? What are their sports? What are their hobbies? What are the things that they do on an ongoing basis? So one of the things that happened to me a couple of years ago, I am considered a branding expert. I've been doing it for 20 plus years in global media. And I could help anyone and everyone. If you wanted to launch a physical product, I've helped with product launches of physical things. I've helped with product launches for personal brands, TV launches. Like, I've done it all in the last 20 years. But me personally, where I am in my life and my career, I only want to do things that are aligned with me on a soul level. So if you were some egotistical person saying, oh, I want to get a #1 bestseller and I want to get a TED Talk, and if you came to me with that kind of aggressive energy, I would refer you to someone else. Am I capable of doing that? Do I have a program that does that? Absolutely. Have I done it for lots of people? Yes. But would I want to work with that kind of person? No. And so what happened to me a couple of years ago, when I really decided that I wanted to focus on working with heart-centered, soul-conscious entrepreneurs and healers and light workers, it was as if the universe was testing me. They said, oh, really? You want to narrow your niche? So I was given an opportunity. Somebody called me up and said, hey, Andrea, we're hosting an event in the UK with Gary Vaynerchuk. The Gary V is headlining, and we want you to headline as well. Expert Empires in the UK. And I'm like, isn't this interesting? For most of us in this branding marketing space, this would be like a jackpot to be on a headlining stage in the UK, big event, la la la. For an ego stroke, that would have been it. And I'm like, but do I want to talk to that audience? People who were, So I really had to think about it. I had to meditate on it. And what came up for me was, okay, there are going to be some spiritual people in that audience. And there are going to be some people who want to build a business because it's aligned with their heart and their soul. And if they go to this conference and it's a lot of this aggressive alpha energy, if you got to do this to sell and fill the room and then they're going to be left with just one take. So what if I did go and I spoke and I presented my thing in my way on how to leverage the media and become an authentic personal brand with integrity? So that was my challenge, and that made me say, yeah, why would I turn down an opportunity like this? So here's what I did, and some of you already know this because you're working with me personally. When I craft a speech, when I help people deliver their TED Talks and keynotes, we go through it line by line, color coding, to make sure that the language we choose comes from your brand encyclopedia. We make sure that the language you choose is going to land in the head and the heart of your ideal customer. So this has a point. So I'm there on stage, headlining. We've got 500, maybe 600 people. Auditorium is packed. It was a great, great event, really well laid out. And I get on stage and I share a little bit of what I'm sharing with you. But I knew that I needed to connect with a few people who would want to work with me. And so I chose certain language. And so at one point, I was asking people, hey, are there any empaths here? Is anybody of you who can feel the energy of other people? Maybe you're clairaudient or clairsentient. You can walk into a room and feel the temperature of the room. Now, some of you understand a few of those words, and some of them you didn't, but you get the idea of going into a room and you can tell if someone's in a good mood or bad mood. Well, a friend of mine pulled me aside afterward and was like, clairsentient, clairaudient? What is that? And maybe you should leave that out of your speech. Yes, Shireen, you were there at Expert Empires. That's right. That's how we met in the first place. But here's the thing. I said to him, no. The people who know what those words mean are the exact people who lined up at the table and wanted to work with me. And I ended up working with them. Some of them like Shireen. That's how I met, what is her name? Yvette Taylor, whose book I published, who became one of our global luminaries, because they picked up on the language. The people who were just the egos like, okay, let me get all the facts of how I'm going to go do this and build my empire, they went somewhere else. And so that's the power of being able to connect in an authentic way. Because yes, some of you have material that will help all women. Yes, I get that. You have information that will help all professionals. But what you want to do is be able to speak directly to your niche. Yes? Makes sense? All right, so I'm going to take a couple of questions and then I'm going to jump back into the slides so we can get all the way through it. So Lisle, you say, Males and females between 30 to 50 years old who suffer from generalized anxiety disorder that also feel that their personal and professional life has been stuck because of it. Girlfriend, you get a double high five. I'm even going to give you applause. Yes, that is so specific and so clear. Like, I would know exactly who to send to you. Excellent. Love it. Okay. All right. So we're golden. We got it. Let's move on, shall we? I want to get you to the next part of the worksheet. If you didn't download the worksheet, you want to do that. All right. So here's what I recommend. For those of you who've been in business for a while, think of the good apples. And by good apples, I mean, who are the clients that you've worked with in the past where it was a total pleasure to work with them, where you could get success with them, where you felt like it was a good fit, that even though you may have had to work hard, you were just like, this works for me. Now go back to those people with whom it was a pleasure to work, the people that got success with you, where it really felt like a good fit, and make a list. And then look at their demographics. What was their age, their gender, their marital status, number of kids? What was their employment status, their income, their lifestyle? Make a list of those factors. And then I want you to look and make a list of the bad apples. Now, if you're just starting out, you may not have experience. But for those of you who have been in business before, or just even if you worked in corporate or whatever, you know the bad apples. They're the people that you're like, they get on your last nerve. And write down what are their identifying factors. The people who are a pain, write down their name. The people that you wish you never let into your program. The people that don't get good results. Now I know this may sound a little harsh, but what I'm interested in is protecting your well-being. I want you to succeed and thrive so that you're healthy and well, and your clients are too. And that means if someone is not a good fit for you, you shouldn't take them on for your own sanity. So what is their attitude, their outlook? What is their income level? Were they just too busy? Did they not have a lot of follow-through? Were they not motivated? Problems or illnesses that didn't match with your techniques? So I'm really curious about this, Karina, that one of your good apples turned into a bad apple. So I would write that down. What were the identifying factors about that person? Maybe you couldn't have prevented it, but for some of us, if we start to recognize these red flags, we will avoid it. Because ultimately, you might want to avoid that, getting into working with people who are not a good match for you. Are there people who have limiting beliefs or excuses? Like for me, it's a no-go. If someone wants to stay in pity party land, they're not going to be a good client for me. Because I want to use my energy to uplift. Yes, we all fall into moments of self-defeating thoughts and behaviors. I do too. But it's that willingness that I need in my clients. I need to see that willingness. So what is it for you? That's what I'm curious to know. All right, so we've got some other comments coming in. Beautiful. Åshild, up in Norway, you've taken a break from the burnouts. Ah, okay, and moved from health to wealth. So excellent. So as we met, you were working with burnt out nurses. So now you want to move to health and wealth. I love it. Because, you know, dealing with sick people all the time, I mean, you were a nurse working in the hospital, dealing with the sickness all the time is a drain. So now you're helping conscious, future-oriented women kickstart their cryptocurrency investments and secure their financial future to create more freedom in their lives. Wow, let's put that up there again. Future-oriented women. All right, so that's a very specific niche. You know, there's only going to be a certain number of women who are going to be dialed in to that type of an offer. But I think that's great. I think that's absolutely great. All right, so what I'd ultimately like for you to be able to come up with is what I call a good combination, a winning combination. So people that you enjoy working with, people who can actually benefit from your services, people who can afford your programs, and your services. Now, I know some of you may be in a charitable situation. That's fine. If that happens to be the case, then good. Maybe there's other certain criteria that they need to fulfill in order to get into your programs. Maybe they have to have a certain level of need, right? So ultimately, what I want you to be able to do is to fill out your avatar profile, your ideal client profile. So you'll see this in the worksheets, in the download. And if you could fill this out, my ideal client is, so many years old, male, female, what they earn, what is their level of education, their hobbies. Because when we can do that, then we can do, as I say, speak to your niche. Ultimately, none of us really wants to be like a slick marketer. None of us wants to be someone who's like, out there in this icky, salesy energy, right? We want to be able to just have a conversation, which, we'll talk about when we get to deep dive number 6. We want to just have a conversation with folks, right? So that they can just take advantage of what we have on offer. Does that make sense? So I'd love to hear your questions about this. If you are just tuning in for the first time, hey, welcome. And if you're watching the replay, good on you. Type in the comments #replay. I'd love to hear from you. I'm Dr. Andrea Pennington, and this is the 6 days of Deep Dive live business training. Yesterday, we covered Deep Dive 1, which was all about how to define your personal brand identity and your unique selling proposition. Today, we are covering how to define your ideal customer. That is, nail your niche. Tomorrow, we will do Deep Dive number 3, where we will outline your intellectual property so that you can take the brilliance out of your brain and turn it into a product, whether that's a book, a keynote speech, a TED Talk, a course, a workshop. We can do that. And I will show you how. Deep Dive number 4 is how to choose, test, and launch your first or your next product. That's on Thursday. On Friday, we're going to show you how to write and publish a book in 90 days or less. And yes, it's actually possible to write and publish a book. I will be giving you my secret strategy. And finally, on Saturday, it's all about crafting your irresistible offer. And by irresistible offer, what we mean is a sales offer. Now, I'm going to share then how I do it. I believe in just having a conversation. And I have some of my clients. I know some of you are here. You're here, my clients. Have you ever seen me go into a aggressive sales pitch? You got to sign up now. You got to buy now. Nobody wants that. I don't want that. I didn't come in the world to be that. So I'm going to show you just how to communicate your value and your worth and your products and your success in a way that is totally aligned with your heart and your soul, in a way that is not slimy or sleazy or salesy, so that people can accept it into their heart. All right? All right, so Beatrice, if you're just starting your business, how can you pick and choose? So tell me a little bit about what you're up to, Beatrice, and I can give you more specific advice. So I would, first and foremost, think about success. What does success look like for somebody working with you or somebody using your product? What does success look like? We want to think from the end. We start with the end in mind. All right? So, for example, just again coming back to me, well, I'll choose a different lane. You know me now at least a little bit as a branding and communication strategist, but I'm also a healer. I'm a doctor, acupuncturist, and I do therapy with people. One of the things that I am really focused on helping people do is overcome the limiting beliefs and the programming that come as a result of adverse childhood experiences, early trauma. Because I found that many people who experienced trauma, whether that was abuse or neglect, abandonment, they often have this underlying belief that they're not worthy of love and success. And so there are a lot of people who have that as a problem. But as I've shared before, I definitely can't work with people who want to stay in the pity party. Now, I'm not saying that it's not true that some people have endured to just tremendously horrible things. But for me, I need clients who have a willingness to change. So I tend to attract people who are really at that level of wanting to move forward. And so what does success look like? Well, my clients have told me that after working with me, they now feel more connected in their body. They now feel more connected to their heart. They've now got the confidence to speak up for themselves and set boundaries. They now have a sense of feeling comfortable in their own skin and that they actually love themselves. So if I look at all of those outcomes, then I can start to identify what are the kinds of people who would actually appreciate that. Because it's not everyone, right? And so you sort of start to narrow down on what is the ideal success person. Now, of course, when I put out information onto the internet, even the people who want to stay in pity parties, or they're not ready to let go, or they're not ready to forgive, or they're not willing to get past their own blocks, they're still going to come across my content, but they just may not take it to the next level. So Beatrice, if you're willing to tell me what kind of business you're looking at, I can give you some more specific advice. Anyone else out there have a question about today's lesson? Anybody else want to dial in on your niche, your avatar profile, your ideal client profile? What does that person look like? I'm happy to coach you on that. Just type in the chat your question. I'm happy to take it. If you've been enjoying this style of teaching and this level of specificity on getting really clear on your brand, your clients, then you might want to check out the Authentic Personal Branding Bootcamp. It is a 10-day video course that includes live coaching from me, and we have a 10-day kickstart that starts on February 24th. We have a live session on February 24th that you can attend even if you're not yet a member of the bootcamp, because I'm offering a free taster session. So if you'd like to get a sense for what is the bootcamp like, you've seen some of the slides that I'm sharing here are actually part of the bootcamp, both yesterday and today's, then you can join us on February 24th. Just visit makeyourmarkglobal.com and you will find a link to sign up for that. Any other questions about nailing your niche, like really defining your ideal customer? Oh, perfect timing. All right, sounds like I might need to end my broadcast as someone is drilling next door. Shireen, so 45 plus female, earning about 50K plus. They're comfortable with digital. They've got a pubescent daughter or child leaving home. You get the gold star. You get the applause. Tell me if this is annoying, because I haven't used this feature before. Tell me if that's annoying you. And I'll stop, I promise. Nancy, if you're just starting out, is it best to take the time, as you mentioned earlier, to see what types of clients resonate? I would definitely say take your time before you do anything big and costly, like doing a full design on a website or, buying stuff that costs a lot of money. I would start simple and small until you really feel a sense of flow. But of course, there's nothing wrong with rebranding yourself. There's nothing wrong with, next year feeling like, okay, now I really want to narrow down. If you're more confident, then good on you. There's no problem with that. And for those of you who are feeling like, oh my God, I don't want to have to choose one niche, then here's what I advise all of my clients and everyone in boot camp. Just choose one to really get clear on so that you go through the process of knowing how to speak to them, how to market to them, how to share yourself with them in an authentic way. And once it's super dialed in, because let's be honest, if you said, oh, I can help all women, well, the way that you talk to a 25-year-old woman and the way you talk to a 65-year-old woman, I hope it would be different. I hope that you would tune in to their needs. And so if you focus for this process on just speaking to that one individual, really dialed in, and get practice with that and get so comfortable, then you could open up and say, okay, well, now I'm ready to deal with men and women, or whatever that other niche is. But if you stay bland and general, you're going to have very bland and general results. You won't have the sort of traction that leads to lasting success unless you have a ton of money. If you have a ton of money, then you can put a lot of money into advertising and be very, very bland. And if you hit thousands of people, there'll be a few out of there that can sort of read through the generic language and feel like it's for them. But the more specific you get, you'll have just much more success. And yeah, take your time, figure one out, and then you can always grow from there. What other questions do you have? Seems like the drilling has stopped, so we might be okay. I'm happy to take some more questions about nailing your niche. Anyone? 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 And super excited for tomorrow's deep dive as well. I love, one of my thrills is to dive into the heart and the mind of my clients, to pull out their intellectual property. Because a lot of people say, oh, but I do the same thing as everyone else. I have a coaching program. I help people lose weight, whatever. But I'm like, no, it's not like everyone else. You have your own way of delivering it, and you have your own background of experience. So when we start to talk about intellectual property tomorrow, it's going to be fun. All right, so Humble Victoria says, a 30-year-old single woman struggling to cope with parenting. Do you mean awakening? And being present through literacy curriculum and instruction, i.e. homeschooling, family schooling. Okay, so it doesn't matter if that's already prevalent out there, Humble Victoria, because you probably have a reason. So one of the things we talked about in Deep Dive 1 was your why. What is your motivation? Why have you chosen to work with the 30-something single mom who's struggling to cope? Is it because you have some experience? Is it because you grew up with a single mom who had those challenges? There's a reason why. So even though there may be tons of resources out there, they're not with the combination of you. And so that is very specific. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you get an applause. Nobody told me that it's annoying, so it's funny, says Karina. Okay. Voila. What if you're not sure about the value that you're offering? Okay, so this is a good one. I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday. What you can do is look at the pain that your client is currently in. What is that pain costing them? Now, there's two ways to look at cost. One is the actual money. If I'm in pain and I can't go to work, it's costing me thousands per month in lost wages. Maybe I'm, because of the pain that I'm in, whatever it is, psychological or physical pain, I'm also spending money to see doctors and therapists and this and that and the other, right? I'm also maybe spending stuff on products. So you can look at the cost of the pain. What does it cost them personally and financially? Now, I mentioned not being able to work because of the pain. If I'm in so much pain that I no longer get to go to my children's events, I'm missing out on their life, there's a pain associated, there's a value, even though you can't put a number, a dollar amount on it. Maybe I can't even go out and visit my friends anymore. I can't go skiing like I would normally because of whatever my challenge is. So you add up the pain that it's costing them and the financial and the personal costs. And then you can look at the past. What have they spent in order to get a diagnosis and or treatment? And if they've tried everything under the sun, then you can probably add up a dollar value to if they get to work with you and you alleviate that pain, you can start to get to a sense of what it's valued. I mentioned yesterday that I host the Conscious Branding podcast, which is available on all platforms, including YouTube. And one of the Conscious Branding podcast episodes was with Jonathan Stark. And his whole thing is to get people away from charging by the hour. Instead of trading dollars, time for dollars, we do value-based pricing. So that's what you want to start to do. And of course, we can work on that together if we need to. All right, so Danielle, welcome. I'm glad you're here. You have a question about branding as an artist. What tips do you have for a niche brand look? So what kind of artist are you? You need to tell us that. And yeah, I need to know what is your art? Are you a singer? Are you a painter? Are you a what? I need some more specificity, and I'm happy to answer. I'm glad you like the applause. Gold star, thank you. So a client that wants to explore simple natural tools for reinventing and nourishing themselves. Okay, all right, so you've brought that up, this kind of idea of nourishing a few times. So these are like keywords you're going to add to your brand encyclopedia, so that if you are writing a post on Facebook or you're about to go live, you make sure that you're bringing in those keywords that will resonate with your ideal client. All right. Your story of going for the externally defined goals instead of listening to your heart is important and resonates with your customers and their journey to set their inner compass for sustainable personal success. Yes. So that is a big shift. That is a big shift for most people to say, I'm going to listen to my heart and yeah, tune into the inner compass instead of the external. Yeah. And I bet that does resonate with your customers. It resonates with me. All right, Natasha, do I think that current COVID climate impacts targeting our niche? If so, how? I think what COVID has done is just amplified our ability to reach our ideal customer, because people who were never online are online a lot more right now. And I mean, that's good and bad. Of course, there is a lot of Zoom fatigue. There's a lot of people feeling the pressure to be online all the time, and that's wearing them down. But I think in terms of targeting your clients, I think what happened last year, and the reason I'm back doing these 6 days again, is everybody and their dog was creating, marketing programs, how to launch a business, how to launch your course, how to do this. And so all of a sudden, that's just one niche, right? That's people who want to start a business or who needed to go online with their business. There was a lot more noise in the marketplace. And so for me, I needed to really speak directly to my niche. So I would say for you, you have a greater likelihood of reaching your target audience as a result of COVID because more people are online. But the more targeted and specific you are in speaking to your niche, the better. Because whatever you're offering, and you can tell me if you want, Natasha, whatever we're offering, there's probably going to be 10 to 50 to 1,000 more people offering the same thing. And so how do we cut through the noise? The approach that I take with all of my marketing is brand marketing. Now, some of you would prefer to do just ads or influencer marketing or all of those things, and those can work in the short term, but they only work while you turn it on. So if you do ads, for example, ads can only bring in clients while the ads are turned on. If you were to partner up with an influencer, it only works while they're shining that light on you, and then it's gone. Whereas with what I'm suggesting you do is switch to brand marketing, where you develop yourself as a personal brand, always dialed into your truth and your authenticity, and sharing. You'll see when I get to Deep Dive 6 about creating your irresistible sales offer, it's all about giving generously. And this is a little different. There are some people who believe you should only give a little bit and hold the rest back, make people sign up for the free stuff, but don't give them anything. That is not my belief, mainly because I've worked at this for over 20 years, and I've seen that if we're generous, the people who really need you but can't afford you will get benefit, and they'll tell other people. Or when they can afford you, they'll come to you because you've been generous. And the people who can afford the things that I offer, they're instantly feeling connected to me because I've given so generously. And so with brand marketing, I would just, as much as you're willing, I recognize not everybody wants to be on Instagram and Facebook or on camera, but whatever medium you choose, and I would say choose one in the beginning, and then just give generously. And don't worry if nobody's clicking on it and liking or sharing. Just give. Because if you remember back when I was saying that we need to have, I'm going to take you back in the keynote. I'm losing my ability to speak here. Taking you back to building your expert platform. So when we're building a platform, we dial into the identity. But when I say this core content, like I'm just going to use this example. Let's say somebody knows that I have a podcast that women listen to, women who are 45 and older. And then they say, you should get on Andrea's podcast. She's got your target audience. You can go there and talk about all your stuff. Now, this has happened. I can put people on blast. And then what happens? People think, if they're on Dr. Andrea, then, they must be good people. And then people will go and they'll look you up. And they're going to, if you've been compelling, if you've dropped some knowledge, if you've shared some wisdom, they're going to want more. So you need to have some core content, whether that's a blog or a vlog, whatever it is, so that they can consume more and they can start to understand who you are. Were you just a one-hit wonder, or are you someone that they can really sink into? And the other thing I'll say about that is we are in an era where people want connection from the heart. I used to share this all the time. Like, the era of the guru is gone. People don't want somebody up on a pedestal looking all perfect and polished. Like, that era is gone. We want people that we can relate to, that we can trust, that we feel gets us. And so I advocate for creating content that builds connection. One of the things I teach in my workshops is how to bypass the filters. Because we all have a little bullshit detector, we have these filters that we're assessing and we're judging and critiquing. And so if you can connect from the heart and show people without oversharing, show people your vulnerability, show them that you're human, show them that you care, then they're more likely to stick with you. And so brand marketing is all about building what I call affinity and authority. There's actually 3 A's, but affinity. Affinity just means they like you. And we talked about this before. There's an old saying in marketing that people need to do 3 things before they will buy from you. They need to know you, they need to like you, and they need to trust you. And so in my marketing program, I teach you, how do you build affinity? How do you make people like you without it being a weird NLP manipulative trick? And that is by sharing from the heart, by being real and true and honest. How do you build authority? Well, I have a free workshop called the 3 R's to build authority. It's about being recognized, respected, and recommended. So if you can build these things, if you can build this affinity and this authority, you will gain attraction and it will be lasting. It won't be just, you turned on ads and now it's working and then the money dries up. You want to have this consistent flow of people coming into your universe where they can, if they're not buying from you today, they buy from you when they need it, or they remember you when someone else has a problem that you solve. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Awesome. Hey, Shamini, it's good to see you here. It's been a while. All right. Excellent, Sonia. You got it. Know, like, and trust. Amen. That's what we want. All right, so in our last few minutes here, we have been talking about your niche and how to really tune in to your ideal customer so that you can speak in language that resonates with them. That's a whole nother workshop, but ideally, that's what you'll get out of this. You'll be able to speak in words that light them up, where they just know, like, yes, this is for me. And I'll say one more thing about this whole niche thing. The same friend of mine who said, do you really think you should have said clairsentient and clairaudient? I don't even know what that is. I say yes. a lot of people said, you can't go on LinkedIn and talk about spiritual stuff. Like, no. And yet, I've gotten amazing clients through connections on LinkedIn by being authentically me. And so we're in an era where people want authenticity. And I know that that is like an overused term, but it is still the truth. We connect from the heart. We may make decisions in our mind, but where they're backed up is with emotion. We will typically feel something and want to take action, and then we use the intellect to justify it. And so that's all that I'm advocating for. You'll be able to grow larger and reach more people as you want if you really focus. All right, so I'm coming back to Danielle. Sorry, almost missed you there. So I make music for people who feel alone most days and for Black people who've grown up in white spaces. Primarily, I create R&B, but my music isn't vulgar or sexual. I strictly stick to positive messages incorporating the popular sound. Ooh, Danielle, we want to hear, we want to hear your music. So you have to pop a link in the chat. Let us know where we can hear your music. So if you talk about that, I mean, if we were just talking about positive R&B, non-vulgar, and non-sexually explicit, that brings to mind people like, I was going to say Jill Scott, but no, your girl talks about sex a lot. India Ari, for example. There's so many others. But yeah, that's a genre. So I would just keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully you are making music and you're going to share with us your YouTube or your Spotify or wherever you are, SoundCloud, so that we can shout you out. That's what I would do. I would just keep making songs and putting them in front of the people who want to hear them. I have to ask if anyone here is on Clubhouse. That is also a place where artists are being discovered, as well as people who are starting companies. They're finding investors on this app. It's only on iPhone so far, Clubhouse. I'm on there. I'm hosting a room with two of my colleagues, Helena Philipson from the DK, that's Denmark, and Dr. Jill Stalker in America. So we will be on Clubhouse next Monday, I think, talking about imposter syndrome or burnout. And then I'm hosting another room on the power of owning your story so that you can share it with the world. Shamini, you're already on Clubhouse. Awesome. We have to connect. I am at Dr. Andrea P, I think. So definitely look me up. Let's connect. Would love to have you on Shamini talking about story when we do that next month. So yeah, there are lots of ways that you can start having these conversations. And definitely Clubhouse, it's the new phenomenon and there's a lot of hype going on. But if you wanted to practice sharing in a very non-scary way, nobody can see you, you might consider that. All right? Well, it has been such a pleasure to connect with you all once again. I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Allison Phillips and Martin Muscat, are you on Clubhouse app? Okay, so you're asking. Yes, get connected, my friends. Let us all connect and lift each other up. All right, so this has been day 2 of our 6 days of deep dive training. Go back and watch the replay if you don't know how to describe what you do and what makes you unique. We covered that in Deep Dive 1. Today, we've covered nailing your niche. Tomorrow, it's all about your intellectual property. If you have been dying to write a book, create a course, figure out what is your special sauce, tune in tomorrow. Absolutely. Day 4 is all about how to choose, test, and launch your first product. And I actually said that one was in 30 days or less. It's a very easy way to just start testing the marketplace. Absolutely. Deep Dive 5 on Friday is how to write and publish a book in 3 months or less, baby. And yes, it is possible. I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. And on day 6, as I mentioned, it is Deep Dive 6, how to craft your irresistible sales offer. All right, so this has been fun. I'm so grateful to have you here. Thank you for all the thanks coming up in the chat. I appreciate the love. And I'm so glad that I am making your day, Karina and Osil. I'm so glad that we are connected again. It's so exciting to hear this new direction you're going in. Yes, definitely check out the replay if you missed it from the beginning. Natasha, I'd love to work with you. Get in touch. Any tips on equipment for recording videos? I will send you an email with a list of low-cost stuff. Are you on a smartphone, Shireen? Are you on an iPhone? Let me know. Very good to see you as well, Shamini. Thank you for tuning in. Nancy, I'm so grateful that you tuned in. I am here to be a fount of, hopefully, wisdom. Lisle, pleasure. I will see you again soon. All right, my dear friends, I am so grateful to be connected. It is top of the hour. I'm going to bid you adieu and wish you a wonderful rest of your week. Be sure to check out the podcast if you want more branding tips. I mean, there are hours and hours of content on YouTube as well. Check it out. All right? Many blessings to you all, my friend. Remember that you are a gift to the world. So share your presence with passion. Much love.